Legend of Total War here, and today we've got a rating your Doomstack video covering Colex Suneater with a mixed Dragon Ogre army. 5 Dragon Ogre Shaggoths, Summoners of Rage, 9 Dragon Ogres, just regular ones. We've got 3 Exalted Heroes of Nurgle. That's the big edge that this army has over Warhammer 2, the ability to actually heal our Dragon Ogres, and a Shadow Wizard. We're going up against 2 full armies of Karaza Karak with mostly dwarfs, and there are a few Empire units in there. Reasonably okay in auto resolve, although I would not want to click that because you'd lose a ton of troops. But let's see how it performs. Now, in Warhammer 2, this army here is going to be very heavily compared to what was available in Warhammer 2, right? Because, in my opinion, the Shaggoth Doomstack for the Warriors of Chaos was kind of iconic of the Doomstack problem of Warhammer 2, especially with the Warriors of Chaos. And also had a big distinction between Shaggoths and regular Dragon Ogres. Like, I would basically never recruit regular Dragon Ogres in Warhammer 2 because they have a critical problem when dealing with the enemies that you face. I think a lot of people will sometimes just look at stats or even the name of a unit and see similarities, whereas I don't really look at it that way. It all comes down to unit type and function. So even though all of these units here are Dragon Ogres, honestly, these units here are more different than any of these units that are coming at us. These units that are here are more similar than these two, and I'll explain why. You take a Shaggoth, and you take a regular Dragon Ogre side by side, right? And here is the massive distinction. A Shaggoth is a single entity, and a regular Dragon Ogre is like a monstrous cavalry unit with 16 entities if you're playing on Ultra, right? You can look at these stats all day long and miss the bigger picture here because it comes down to utility. Regular Dragon Ogres will die individually, whereas in order to kill a Shaggoth, you have to drop it down to 0 health, right? Meaning that a Shaggoth keeps on fighting at least until it gets its wounds, at almost full power, full weapon strength, until it's actually dead. Whereas a regular Dragon Ogre will continuously get weaker and weaker until it drops off and is finished off, right? In addition to that, you see how these Dragon Ogres are spaced apart? That is really bad, okay? That leaves loads of room for infantry to get around them and kill them quite easily. These guys get surrounded and killed, especially in big blobs. Whereas these guys here, their surface area is significantly smaller, right? So their utilities are completely different. Putting these guys in the same army and being like, look, it's Dragon Ogres. That's cool, but we have 2 completely different utilities here, right? Dragon Ogre Shaggoths, right? In Warhammer 2, we're able to get in and out of combat really easily, right? Bunch of infantry, you go in, smash them, get out. You take out key targets and avoid ones that you don't want to fight and listen until the end. The regular Dragon Ogres have significantly less speed, so if cavalry's chasing after them, they obviously can't keep up, and they'll be forced to fight, and then infantry catch up and kill them, sort of thing. Whereas Shaggoths were fast enough to outrun most cavalry units in the game. Even now, they're still pretty quick, because a lot of the cavalry got a bit of a speed boost. And that was the big distinction between regular Dragon Ogres and Shaggoths. It's more than just stats. Now, in this army here, I've tested it already out a few times in various different ways, and there's different ways we can go about this. And I feel that because we've got the Heroes of Nurgle here, the most important thing I can do for this is just showcase this army, but not necessarily try to win the battle as perfectly as I can, because I don't think that showcases it as well as I could. Because the way that I would, if this was my army and I was going up against this enemy, what would I do, right? I would try to use the Dragon Ogres as little as possible and focus on the Shaggoths, because these are our best units, and these guys here suffer from utility problems, especially against dwarfs, which are all infantry. This is we don't have a stat strength here. Another thing to note is that it's got Stalk on all of these units. I think there's like a Zinch event going on. So, I'm going to set up a couple of control groups here. Okay, Control Group 1, these are our best units. Control Group 2, these are our... I don't rely on these units very much. Now, an important thing to note as well, playing as Heralds of Tempest, you can't spam Shaggoths. You just can't do it, right? You can do it if you're playing as the Shadow Legion and you confederate Kolek, and then you can give him full Shaggoth army. And honestly, I think that army would be way better. Which is interesting how Kolek is actually stronger in somebody else's faction than he is in his own. But it largely comes down to personal preferences. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to send the Shaggoths in first to mess up the enemy formation. Once the enemy formations are messed up, then I'll send in the Dragon Ogres. Okay. Yep, I'm using control grips. Okay, so this is the A team, this is the B team, and this is the N team for Nurgle. Actually, you can go in with them, can't you? Because you're single entities. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to put them in control group 1.
Time. So be it. As Kraken walked before.
Okay. No. I need to use their... No, I don't want to use their abilities all at once, so, yeah. Okay, like that. Yep. Okay. Alright, let's do this. So these guys here will just wait until the right time. If I send them in with these guys here, they're going to take massive casualties at the start of the battle. And that's where it really comes down to the big distinction between Shaggoths and regular Dragon Ogres. It all comes down to utility. You know, these guys here have the ability to just punch through an infantry line like it was nothing. These guys here do not have that ability. Like I said, what we're going to do here, try to run circles around the enemy army to get them into a bad formation. See? Doesn't matter, just run right through it. Because they've got low surface area. That's a bit of a concern there. Okay, they've got low surface area, making it difficult to pin them down. And then when their formation has been ruined, which they are very close to doing so, the regular Dragon Ogres come in. Okay, if there's Reiksguard coming in there, you guys can easily handle that. And we can see here that already the Dragon Ogres have just, like, taken next to no damage. Now, one big distinction as well with Warhammer 3 over Warhammer 2 is the Gifts of Chaos. There is a particular Gift of Chaos that greatly benefits Dragon Ogres, especially the Shaggoths, and that's Missile Resistance one from the Ruinous Bulwark, I think it's called. Okay, we have made the AI create a blob. Now we bring in the regular Dragon Ogres to come and assist. I've got a bit of damage coming in here, but we'll be okay. Get rid of this one here. You start coming in as well. Bring them in. See, when it comes to healing, there's no need to worry about healing them at the start of the battle, because they're still essentially at 100% damage output. Until they get down to 25%, there's no need to worry about them. Whereas these guys here, they're going to start taking casualties right away. I'm going to need to heal them pretty much immediately. Okay. And now these guys get in relatively safely.
Blessings of war.
Okay, now all Dragon Ogres have this new ability here. Handy. Okay, we could also pop down a overcasted ability, Occam's Mind Razor, for extra weapon strength, so that we really just hit them super hard. Okay, enemy reinforcements have arrived. Yeah, 50% extra damage output's pretty damn good. And we no longer have to worry about the magical attacks when dealing with dwarfs. So that is a significantly better spell in Warhammer 3. Go, get in there. Alright. Okay, we can start to see now that these guys are taking damage. Let's pull them out and try to repeat the process again. So far, none of them have died, but this one here, I'm worried about that. And we can see here as well, I'm having trouble pulling them out. They don't just slide out easily. Because, yeah, Dragon Ogre Shaggoths, reasonably good in a blob. Regular Dragon Ogres, not good in a blob. This one is just getting, like, focused on. Yeah, see how I couldn't pull them out of fight. I just couldn't do it. They just won't go. They just get totally stuck. If it was the Shaggoths, they could have easily gotten out of that.
Invoking the Fly Lord.
Yeah, this one here just taking massive damage. I gotta get it out. This one here is also getting smashed up a fair bit. Put this one out. Oh, look at this one here. It's getting annihilated. Get it out. Just can't get it out.
See who wields true power.
The first bit went really well, but then these reinforcements, they caught us while we were in the middle of that fight, and it just hurt us a fair bit. Definitely not invincible. Definitely not invincible. But yeah, we're definitely winning. Funny thing here, these Reichsguard are doing a really good job for the dwarfs, because I'm trying to like pull out of these combat and they're just not letting us. I don't have my heals ready yet. This guy here's taking a lot of damage. The flame attacks are not that important. What's his name? Thorgrim Grudgebearer is a bit of a problem because he's anti-large. So just try not to be in the edges there. Okay, this unit here, I can't revive them from the dead, whereas this one here I can at least heal it. And that's another thing as well. This was better for, well, this will be better for multiple battles, whereas these guys here, not so much, not as much. Alright, they've won. Because like if we start the battle damaged, we can just heal before the fighting begins. We couldn't do that in Warhammer 2, we can in Warhammer 3.
Time. Chaos
Slayers left. This one here does have the wounds active. Yeah, he dropped down below 25%.
Bloodthirsty. Invoking the Fly Lord.
Alright, and there we go. So let's have a look at the changes to Kolek and see what he's doing for these Dragon Ogres. As well. But yeah, overall, the army's good for sure. I mean, Dragon Ogres are still good units. But man, I just got a massive preference for Shaggoths. For the exact reason that we saw right there. Because like we had units that were badly damaged. That were getting a good amount of heal. Because yeah, if we look at it, if we get attacked again over the end turn, these Shaggoths will now continue fighting at full strength, but this one here won't, because they're dead. The entities in there. These are fairly small distinctions, but it really comes down to utility. I think that what I'm trying to get at here, then again, if you could just replace the entire army, well, that's actually one advantage that they have over the Shaggoths. The Shaggoths don't get any healing from that. They don't need it. Because if we got attacked again, we'll just heal anyway. Oh, there you go. But that was an absurdly high amount. Okay, we can't win that, obviously. Alright, let's just get to the next turn. I want to have a look at what Kolek is doing for the Dragon Ogres. Because I think there's been a few changes from Warhammer 2 to Warhammer 3. Because in Warhammer 2, he just like boosted their stats by crazy and like reduced their upkeep cost. So in Warhammer 2, it was possible for Kolek Suneater to have 0 upkeep regular Dragon Ogres.
There is nothing on.
He couldn't do it with Shaggoths, but he can get them really cheap. With Shaggoths, he just made them really strong.
Speak, mortal.
So let's have a look.
Tempest incarnate.
Alright. So, looking at Kolek Suneater, rank 50. Looking at his trait firstly, so that's definitely different from what it used to be. Reduced cost for the Carnage Incarnate Gift of Chaos. So that's the one that gives you the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, so that's definitely good. But it's not like getting a lot of souls is a problem. Reduced upkeep cost by 25% for Dragon Ogres and Shaggoths. That's good. Missile resistance for monstrous infantry and monster units. So that's just for any monsters. Now that missile resistance is definitely very good. So I think they've got a base 15%. So that would bring them up to 25%. And then you've also got this one over here. Where is it? Missile resistance 15%. But these guys here, they're at 45. I'm sure that there's probably a tech or something in here that's giving them extra boosts. That's for Chaos Trolls and Giants. Weapon strength. Yeah, I'm not intimately familiar with everything in the Warriors of Chaos. I just haven't played them that much since the update. And there's a lot of stuff in there. Okay, so that's his trait. Looking at his unique skill line, that's just for him. Just for him. Just for him. Okay. Charge bonus plus 15%. Right. Is that all? So he definitely had better buffs in this line here for Dragon Ogres. Back in Warhammer 2. This stuff here is... it's okay, but nothing spectacular. Okay. Alright. So basically, his big edge for Dragon Ogres is that he just has them cheaper than other lords that you can get. Nothing wrong with that. They're just a bit cheaper. But yeah, they're not necessarily super strong like they used to be for in Warhammer 2. That being said, in Warhammer 2, the AI had lots of melee cheats, so in Warhammer 3, they don't get as much, so they don't need to be as strong. So, this is my overall thoughts on this. This is definitely a good army, right? A very good army. I don't understand why there's only 5 Dragon Ogres Shaggoths. I feel like you can get 6, right?
Stormcaller. Forward unto slaughter.
Yeah, he could get a 6. And they were I definitely think they're better. They are of similar price. I don't think that's a big distinction for Warriors of Chaos because they're ridiculously rich now. Summoned as a Rager and Excellent unit, just a regular Dragon Ogre, but with magical attacks and the Chain Lightning, which is obviously very good. My big thoughts here is that I think this is a good army, for sure, but I think that playing as the Shadow Legion, confederating Kolek Suneater, and creating an all-Shaggoth army would be a lot better. Give us more utility, and I wouldn't have been so irritated by the fact that I just couldn't get my units out of there. Once I was committed to the fight, I kind of just had to stay there, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to pull out my Dragon Ogres and recollect myself when the enemy reinforcements came out. I kind of felt like I couldn't do that. I pulled out a couple of the individual units, but once the fight began, I was kind of stuck there. And that's what I felt like with this sort of army here. Because I could have gotten the Shaggoths all out, that was no problem. But then these Dragon Ogres would have been left to die, and typically speaking, I'm a no unit gets left behind kind of guy. So they were hurting my overall army ideas midway through the battle. If we had an all Shaggoth army, I would have had complete control over the battlefield. They just wouldn't have been able to do anything that I didn't want them to do. So, playing as a Shadow Legion with Kolek Suneater and getting an all Shaggoth army would be stronger than this, but I also got to recognize that it would take a very long to do that, because you can only get one every 4 turns, unless you cancel and do it every turn. That way you can get one every turn, but it's very expensive in terms of souls, which isn't as much of a problem for Warriors of Chaos as well, it's just not that much of a problem for Warriors of Chaos, I guess. They're the ones that have souls. Anyway, in summary, I'd say that this is pretty practical for Kolek Suneater. Getting Dragon Ogres is not too difficult for him because he starts off in mountainous areas, so you will have access to them. They are very strong. And there's another thing as well, the enemies that you go up against, they're not that tough, so you should be able to handle it. Because in Warhammer 2, you'd like come down off the Chaos Waste, and Reichland and Kislev would just be waiting for you there with like 20 armies, and you just had to kill so much. Whereas it's just not the case in Warhammer 3. The enemies are just so much more limp dick noodles. They're just not that tough. Yeah, so it's reasonably practical, some like medium high. The heroes are excellent, of course. It's very strong. Like, it took out 2 full stacks. I know that it has higher potential in the Shadow Legion, that's all. And it's reasonably easy to use. It would be easier to use if it was all Shaggoths, but I understand that you're limited with that. Also, I should probably check the faction bonuses here compared to like if you were in Shadow Legion. So one thing to keep in mind is Kolek himself is stronger within the Heralds of the Tempest, depending on how many vassals you have. Yeah, because he does have a lot of weapon strength there, but so I guess it just depends. You know, you can make Kolek stronger in the Heralds of the Tempest, but you can make his army stronger if it was in Shadow Legion. That being said, I'm kind of tempted to crank up a Shadow Legion campaign, go and grab Kolek Suneater and pop in a whole bunch of Shaggoths and just see how it goes. But maybe that for another day. Anyway, that's the end of this one here, guys. Hope you have had a happy new year. I'm still kind of recovering a little bit from the 24-hour stream, so if it seems like I'm a bit slow today, yeah, I got a good amount of rest, and I kind of feel like back to about 90%, but I could definitely feel my brain still being a bit mush. Like, at the end of that it was actually a 25-hour stream, I was fucked at the end of it. I crashed so hard straight after that. My body can't handle those anymore. I don't think I'll ever do another 24-hour stream. Well, we'll see. If there's a good event, we'll see. But yeah, I'm recovering. Tomorrow's video I should be completely refreshed. But anyway, that's the end of this one. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for all the donations you gave through the 24-hour stream. We overall raised about $20,000 for various charities. So I really appreciate you guys for that. Anyway, that's the end of this one. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.